You know, history is full of echoes. Echoes of powerful people demanding proof, of nations asking for signs, and yeah, of messengers facing tests that were designed to break them. Well, in 7th century Makkah, that echo came back maybe louder than ever before.
So where did this test even come from? Well, at the very heart of our story is a calculated plot, a plan that was hatched by the most powerful men in Makkah to try and snuff out a message they just couldn't ignore anymore. See, you had the leaders of the Quraish, the tribe that ran Makkah. We're talking about men like An-Nadra ibn al-Haris and Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayt. They were watching their authority just crumble as the Prophet Muhammad's message started to really connect with people. Their frustration was boiling over. They knew they needed more than just arguments. They needed a counterattack, a test so final it would shut him down for good.
So they came up with this plan. They decided to journey north, to the city of Yathrib, which we now know as Al-Madinah. Now, why there? Because Yathrib was home to a community of Jewish scholars. The Quraysh called them the people of the first book, and they were convinced that these scholars, with their deep knowledge of the ancient scriptures, held the secret to stumping the prophet. So they get there, they lay out their whole situation, and the scholars, they listen, and drawing on everything they know about prophetic history and scripture, they provide the perfect trap, a set of 3 questions. And look, this wasn't just trivia night. These were questions about deep mysteries of the past and the unseen, questions they were absolutely certain an unlettered man from Makkah could never, ever answer.
But here's the thing. This whole confrontation wasn't happening in a vacuum. To really get the significance of this moment, we have to see it as the latest chapter in a long, repeating story, a pattern of disbelief that the Quran itself is constantly pointing to. The Quran keeps reminding the people of Makkah about the nations that came before them. Think about the people of Ad, this powerful tribe famous for their towering pillars, or Thamud, who, like you see here, carved these incredible homes right out of the mountainside. They saw amazing signs, but their arrogance led them to reject their messengers, and in the end, their ruins became the signs. This verse right here, it's a direct answer to anyone demanding some huge, spectacular miracle. It explains the divine logic behind it all. The reason those kinds of overwhelming signs aren't being sent is because past nations already got them, denied them, and were destroyed as a result. History itself was the warning. And really, is there any greater example of this kind of defiance than Pharaoh? The showdown between Moses and the most powerful man on earth was the ultimate test of faith versus tyranny. Moses brought one clear sign after another, but Pharaoh's pride just blinded him, right up until the very end. And this is the crucial part. The Quran makes this comparison itself, explicitly. It frames the struggle happening in Makkah not as some brand new drama, but as the continuation of this timeless prophetic story. It was a message to everyone, loud and clear. What's happening now has happened before. Okay, so let's get back to the challenge itself. An-Nadr and Uqba return to Mecca, and they're armed with these questions that they believe are going to be the final word. And these questions were honestly pretty brilliant in their design. The first one tested knowledge of a forgotten piece of history. The second one was about this grand, almost mythical story of a world-traveling king. And the third was the deepest of all, digging into the unseen, the very essence of the spirit. To answer any of these, you'd need knowledge that went way beyond any local Arab tradition. So the ultimatum was laid out for everyone to see. No middle ground, no wiggle room. The Jewish scholars had told them, if he answers the first 2 but is quiet or vague on the third, then he's a true prophet. But if he fails, he's just an imposter. The stakes just could not have been higher. The challenge was officially issued. And the prophet's response and everything that happened next, well, that became a profound lesson all on its own. A lesson in patience and having total reliance on God. So, feeling confident and certain in the divine source of his knowledge, the prophet made a very simple promise. I will give you the answer tomorrow. But in that moment, he forgot to add that one crucial phrase, Insha'Allah, which means, if God wills. It was such a small omission, but it had a massive consequence. Tomorrow came and there was no answer. The next day, nothing. One day turned into 2, then a week, then 2 full weeks. For 15 agonizing days, the revelation just stopped. The heavens went silent. And you can bet the Quraysh started to mock him, saying things like, Muhammad promised us for tomorrow, and now it's been 15 days. I mean, can you even imagine the weight of that silence? It was a time of immense sadness and a real trial for the prophet.
a huge test of patience for the believers, and for his enemies, it looked like a moment of victory. It was a divine lesson in humility and patience, playing out for everyone to see. And then, after those 15 days of silence, the answer finally came. But it wasn't just a simple reply. Oh no, it was like an entire ocean of guidance that completely swallowed up the questions themselves. The angel Gabriel descended, but not with 3 little bullet points. He came down with an entire magnificent chapter of the Quran, Surah al-Kahf, which means the cave. And inside it was the detailed story of the young men in the cave and the story of the great traveler, Dhul Qarnayn. It answered their questions with more detail, more wisdom than they could have ever dreamed of. And what about that third question, about the spirit? Well, the answer was a powerful lesson in and of itself. It was basically a declaration of the limits of what we as humans can ever understand. A reminder that some knowledge belongs only to God, and that real wisdom is knowing what you can't know.
And to really help us wrap our heads around just how big this idea is, the revelation gave us one of the most breathtaking metaphors in all of Scripture, a way to actually visualize the infinite nature of divine knowledge.
Just try to picture it for a second. All the water in all the oceans of the world is now ink. This verse says that even if you used every last drop of that ink, the oceans would run dry before the words of God could ever be fully written down. It was the ultimate mic drop, putting 3 simple questions up against this infinite, unknowable ocean of divine wisdom. So in the end, yeah, the test of the 3 questions was answered, but not in any way the Quraysh had hoped. It became this profound teaching moment for everyone. The delay taught reliance, the stories gave guidance, and the final answer taught humility. It just confirmed that all true knowledge flows from one source, and one source alone. This whole episode just completely transforms history from a list of old facts into a kind of moral compass. It's asking us to see the patterns, to understand the trials of the people who came before us, and to recognize the deeper lessons in the silences and the challenges we face in our own lives. So the question it really leaves us with is, when these echoes from history reach us, how do we choose to listen?